Hello pilots, I'm Major Payne and this is another episode of Advanced Fighter Pilot Training. In this episode I will talk about light fighters, how to play them most effectively. I'll show you unique techniques, very good tactics and some good tips, which I believe will help you to increase your win percentage in your light fighters. However, if you are a complete beginner, this video is rather not for you because that require a little bit of knowledge about sectors and maneuvers. I have two other training video about maneuvers available in this game and a guide for sectors, how they work, how many capture points for what target and so on, and how many air defense aircraft and many other information which are crucial to fully understand some of the things I'm going to talk in this video. So keep that in mind. If you didn't watch the previous training video, I invite you to take a look on it. Okay, so let's get started. And let's state the obvious in the beginning that we have many different types of light fighters, but beside a few exceptions, which I'm going to mention later on, the main role of the light fighter is to capture and defend sectors. And of course, most exciting element of this is dogfights, fights with other fighters. Now, in terms of capturing sectors, as we know, in a game we have different sectors, some of them are more important than others. Sector like Garrison, Airbase or airstrip can easily be taken over by light fighters simply by destroying earlier target over them. But they are not so important as command center, rocket base or mining plant. Now, command center and rocket base pretty often can be taken over during the battle because there will be players over that sector or bots defending on or whatever, but very often we can have enemies over that sector. Plant, however, is different. Most of the time when enemy flip over this sector, there is no one there to be shot down, and light fighters cannot deal with this sector. That's why we should implement counter-cap tactic. Now, counter-cap tactic is usually for multi-role fighters or heavy fighters equipped with rockets or bombs, and often very fast with very good firepower. But that doesn't mean that light fighters cannot do it. They can and they should. Now in the background, as you see, I'm flying from the Garrison straight to the enemy mining plant. Enemy mining plant I call the plant which is close to the enemy rest point. Now I'm flying in LA-9, which is tier 8 Russian light fighter. It's a very good plane. However, for many players believe that this is one of the worst, but I disagree. I think it's a very good plane. Anyway, plan is here to take out those bots or players, whoever's gonna be here, and flip over this factory. And this is very risky tactic because if this ground attacker or whoever drop one more bomb, will flip over this and I will waste my time. But that's not gonna be the case here. There's a human player in tier 7 bomber and I'm just about to take him out. And this is it. I got him, so I have a little bit more time. I dive to avoid the tail gunner of those bots, and I'm gonna take out those two bots as well. So as you see, my team already managed to take over the plant on my side of the map, and I'm stopping enemy from taking over this mining plant. So I'm barely alive here, but that's still working. I still managed to stop enemy from taking over this factory, and that's the main thing here. The main goal is to get here on time, so to be able to take out some of this aerial target. But we can also engage in some of the ground targets, which they are damaged as you see here. And I'm just about to finish them off. Specifically bots very often miss the target and leave the targets, so can be easily finished off. And that's how I'm gonna flip over this factory now. I'm gonna finish this main building for 80 points, and that's gonna be my factory. There you go. So at this point, my team have two factories and it's Garrison, so we have huge advantage over the enemy. So counter-cap tactic is very good, but it's also extremely difficult. You have to be very careful when you implement that, because if you make mistake, if I get killed here, I waste a lot of time. Now this one pay off. Take a look on the screen now on the top. My factory just reload extra 80 capture points. We have two factory and Garrison, so we have tremendous advantage over the enemy. Now there's another example on another side now, and I need to take a look on the enemy team composition. That's the main thing here. So I analyzed this very carefully. So I see that there's only IL-10, which is the human player ground attacker. IL-10 is not, it is capable of taking over the mining plant, but it's gonna take him quite some time. So that's why I'm using my extra engine cooling here, all my boost, to get there as quick as possible. Across the map, I'm flying straight to the factory, which is close to the enemy rest point. And this is pure counter cap tactic, but this is very, very difficult. You need to be careful when you implement this, because that simply may take you out of the battle and you're not gonna do anything if you're gonna get late here. So here I have the heavy fighter. There are some ground attackers, human player in a ground attacker, bot in a ground attacker, so it's perfect. All we need to do is just be very good at killing those guys. So first we start with the heavy fighter. That's the biggest threat for me. Try to outmaneuver him and take him out, of course, in a sector. There we go. So my team already managed to capture the mining plant, and I just stop enemy from taking over their mining plant. And of course I'm aiming to capture that myself, so I start with the human player in a ground attacker. That's the main thing, to take this guy out. You have to be careful not to be bombed. So it's difficult because this is light fighter. We don't have that much firepower. Cannons overheat quicker than heavy fighter and multi-role fighters. We don't have HP pool, and so on and so on. There you go. I finish off this. I set up that on fire, and we have it. Very quick battle. Enemies are just about to get air domination. Now, interesting fact is that players very often forget that bombers up to tier 7, and including tier 7, are not so overpowered, for example tier 10 or tier 8, and they can be pretty easily taken out by light fighters, specifically high altitude fast fighters like this Me-109, for example. Yeah? But let's try something else. For counter cap tactic, we're gonna take something what fly low and slow, let's say. That will be Yak-3T premium plane. I take that, and I'm gonna show you counter tactic in this one. Now, in the beginning, of course, I analyze the composition of enemy team, and I see that there is only one human player in a bomber, and it's a tier 6 A26B. So this is very encouraging to try to go across the map and implement this counter cap tactic. Now, in my team I have B32, so I think I shouldn't be worried about factory on my side of the map. But anyway, I try this here, and if I would fly some Me-109, for example, or any other light fighter which is fast, then I would try also take out at least one air defense aircraft on the right on this Garrison here. But that's not the case. Yak-3T is it's a good plane, but it's low altitude and it's pretty slow. So I slightly dive and try to keep my speed as optimum as possible. I use my extra engine cooling to keep my speed, and the main problem of this tactic is to get on time to the sector. So in this case it's a factory, and the main problem is to get there on time, because if I get there after that sector will be captured, then it's a huge waste of time, specifically that this plane is not really fast, so to go somewhere else, that's additional time. Now, I've been lucky here. I see this FW-190, this is multi-role fighter, so I should be able to quickly deal with this guy. It's not wrong that he's here, because this plane can help a lot in order to capture this mining plant, but he's not doing that. He's rather in a dogfight kind of stuff, and he get himself a surprise here, and that's how that ends. He helped me to stop enemy from taking over this factory. Now I have another opportunity. That's 50-point target here. I set up that on fire, and we get that. And I have here also those two ground attack planes, very easy target, specifically that they are bots. And you see, I clear off this factory, and I try to soft this main building as well. And another ground attack plane. We have to be careful not to be bombed. or killed by tail gunner. Now I get this main building and another 30-point target, so it's pretty good. I'm very low on HP, so I try to disengage, fly low, away from the enemy bot and restore my HP pool. Above me also flying a bomber from my team, and he's just about to be shot down. But that's not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is that the player which flew in FW190 changed his machine, and he's just coming for me now in Yak 3RD, which is great light fighter, almost like designed for headhunting. And that's how this story ends. I just gonna show you that because that could be a success if I stop this enemy from taking over the factory, if my bomber will take over factory on my side, but that's not the case. So basically this is a huge failure because the enemy is about to take over this factory anyway, and I just waste a lot of time. I have a lot of points, but that's not gonna get me close to the win. Now, another hilarious example. I analyze the composition of enemy team and I see only one player in a bomber G4M2, which have only 4 bombs, and I already make the video about this bomber, and I prove that this bomber can take the factory at one pass, but only if it's a tier 7 game. But that's tier 8, so the buildings on the ground have more HP, and he is unable to take this factory at one pass. He have to wait for reload, so that's why I decide to go there as quick as possible and do my favorite counter cap tactic, and let's see how that's gonna play out. Now I'm showing you these examples and so many of them to make you aware how risky this tactic is. If you do any miscalculation or any mistake, that's gonna cost you a match straight away. So now I'm here. Everything looks fine. I still have a chance, although factory looks like almost captured. And there is Christmas. There's Light Fighter, which he shouldn't be here because he's not gonna help much with his limited guns. But he is an easy target for my LA9. I can easily take him out. I'm more maneuverable. I shouldn't have a problem to take him out, and almost get him now. There you go, 1 HP, and unfortunately factory is capture ready. I'm not killing him because what I'm trying to do now, I'm trying to wait those 30 seconds until this sector will be unlocked, and I don't want to take out my easy target which give me 60 capture points. So now I'm in a trouble because there is also JL here as well. They both in a turn fight with me, but I still want to wait and make something of this unsuccessful attempt of counter cap tactic. Yeah. So now sector is unlocked. Now it's time to kill this guy and take out the JL as well, which is very risky because this is very powerful light fighter on tier 8, but he's doing mistake and he's in a turn fight with much more maneuverable light fighter, which is LA9. Now that's great for me. Now all I need now is one more plane, which is not here. I need 60 capture points to flip this factory back to my team. So now this is interesting because you can expect that in 90% of time that those guys will come back here to get revenge. That's the human psychology. They come in to get revenge. But there's a problem because there's another player incoming in TL. It's a multi-row fighter, and that's not part of the plan. Yeah. So I would love to take out this BF-109G. I'm more maneuverable, but unfortunately I'm not gonna have a chance because there's TL is not a problem, that JL is coming again. So there's 3 players against 1 and I have no chance now. So look at the minimap now. You see the mistake now? That was for nothing. If I go on a left to help my team to take this rocket base, would be much better than go this. Now let's talk a little bit about other sectors, and let's take the Garrison for example. So on Garrison we have 2 air defense aircraft which are flying at high altitude to 2 heavy fighters and light fighters a little bit lower. So basically I already mentioned that in some of my videos, when we're attacking the Garrison, we should go into the 2000 meters altitude, engage those 2 heavy fighters which are on that altitude almost every time, and when we finish, as you see here, they're flying higher than I'm on 1500 meters, but I can quickly climb because this is high altitude fast fighter, so that's not a problem in this case. The main thing is just to deal with them two one by one and then go down to the light fighters. Of course I'm doing that my way, but yeah, it's dependent on situation, but in general by the book is that's the best, most effective way just to deal with those two heavy fighters and then take out one more air defense. And this is related to Garrison, Airbase and Rocket Base. Those three sectors have those heavy fighters, air defense aircraft on an altitude of 2000 meters, and that's worked perfectly. Now in terms of defending sectors, I often say that this is a very important part of the job for the light fighter, for multi-role fighter, for heavy fighter. But for light fighters, it's not so important to defend garrisons or airstrip, for example. Yeah? If it's a rocket base, yeah, that's worth of the effort, or some factory or something like that, something which is much more valuable. Because the problem with the garrison is that it's so easy to flip it over. All you need to do is just take out two enemy planes over the garrison, and that's the 120 capture points. Now in this case, as you see here, I'm trying to defend this garrison. I spend my time to destroy this ground attack plane here, which is not so easy. He defends himself, so I need to do the high yo-yo maneuver and going up and down and try to take him out. That cost me a lot of time, HP and everything. But in this time, I could go into the middle of the map and help my team to take out this, take over this airstrip. Wouldn't that be better? That would be better, because in a moment, this is actually a great example. Look what's gonna happen in a moment. The MiG-15 came in here, there's multi-role fighter, and look how enemy quickly will retake this garrison. Just take a look what's happening. Boom, that's it. And that's my defending here is for nothing. It's just useless. So I spent all this time to defend this garrison, which already been taken over, and this is catastrophe. Now enemy have air domination. You see this? And now I'm trying to take over this airstrip, but that's too late. This is basically too late. Even though in the end of this battle I will have a lot of capture points, everything perfect, but that was a mistake. That was a mistake. My team already managed to take over the command center, so it's fine, but still we are on a back foot and we have much less of points. Now, you see, it is possible, but I could make this happen earlier, and that would be better. Now let's get back to the capturing sectors. So I take this BF-109G and I go to the garrison, and I need to climb to 2000 meters. That's the altitude where the two heavy fighters are sitting. So those air defense aircraft always gonna be on that altitude unless they are attacking currently some other targets, yeah, in a sector. But you would see that. Now there you go. There is one, and there is another one, and I have to be careful with them because they work together, both those heavy fighters. You need to outmaneuver them in a way that you're gonna go one after one of them before the other one will make a turn and get back on you. So that's need to be quick, and that's the whole secret, and that's the way to do it. You see, I finish off this one, and then I have time to avoid another one and get behind him and finish off another heavy fighter. And after this one, all I need to do is to destroy one more light fighter air defense. Now that's good for high altitude fighters like this BF-109G, but what if you don't have high altitude fighters? What if you don't have this high altitude capabilities? There's plenty of light fighters in this game which are not able to fly at 2000 meters, or that's gonna take them too much time, they're too vulnerable, too slow, not very maneuverable at this altitude, yeah? So let me show you another technique. Now this is A6M3 experimental tier 5 Japanese light fighter, and this plane have optimum altitude 800 meters, so there is no way that I'm gonna fly into 2000 meters. This is too risky and I'm gonna be too vulnerable. So this technique is to fly into the sector but at very low altitude and wait until those two heavy fighters will attack you, and they will. But the trick is that if you fly very low, they are unable to hit you. They're not gonna nose dive on you because they're afraid that they crash. So, or they've been programmed like that they cannot fly very low. So you can use that to outmaneuver them and destroy them very, very quickly. Yeah. So this is it. I have them both here. You can use the terrain, and some of them even can crash. But it's very easy to destroy them when they're trying to get you, but they can't dive on you, and you just simply outmaneuver them very easily, and you can almost, I mean, I can do it without the loss of the HP. I'm going to show you two other examples. It's pretty easy if you train that a little bit, and it's very effective. And that's the way for the light fighters, which doesn't have this high altitude capabilities. Now, what left here is one more air defense. You see, I'm using terrain to cover myself against this air defense guns, and that's how I do it. I just captured the Garrison, and I didn't lose too much of the HP. Now I move to another example. This is Yak-3T Tier 7 premium Russian plane. And what I'm doing here is I'm gonna destroy this air defense gun first. So that's not gonna cause me loss of my HP. So that's what I'm doing here. Just the gun, that's it. I just don't want to lose HP. And what I'm doing here, I'm trying to drag those two heavy fighters. As you see, they already coming at me. There you go. But they can't dive on me. They just designed this way that they cannot dive on me. And that's give me opportunity to outmaneuver them easily and take them out. For many light fighters which doesn't have this high altitude performance, this is the only option, basically. Okay, I'm gonna get back to you in a moment after those two examples finish and we start something else. So that's how we do it on low altitude light fighters, and it's specifically useful when you are on low on the HP and you can't afford to lose much of it. So that's how you can do it. Now let's move to another topic, and it's rocket base and command center. Those two sectors are much more difficult to take over. Like enemy rocket base and command center, you need 180 capture points to take it over, and you're probably thinking now how I'm gonna do it in a light fighter. Like, not, I will do it, but not in a sense you might think that I'm gonna destroy the ground target now with those cannons. I only need to destroy one ground target. Now, I'm gonna destroy two air defense aircraft, heavy air defense aircraft first, and then the whole idea, whole tactic is based on simple fact that the air defense aircraft respawn time is 80 seconds. So when I shot them down, they're gonna come back to the sector after 80 seconds. I will have 2 other one. So it's not fast to take over a rocket base, but it is possible in a light fighter, and it could be useful in some specific situation in a battle. You can use that. So there you go, they come in. And this is actually the hard part of it, because we need to quickly take out those air defense. We can't allow them to escape somewhere and fly after them, you know, all over the sector, which is filled up with air defense, yeah. Now, when we have them done, after 80 seconds, they're gonna come back. So what I need to do now here is to just take out this gun placement, this air defense here, just gun, that's all. And I'm gonna focus now on those tents here, and if I destroy this target, that's gonna be 20 capture points, and all I need to do after this is just wait for another 2 air defense heavy fighters, yeah. And this is all secret, but this is very useful tactic in many situations, like maybe, like, don't forget that how important is rocket base. Rocket base is critically important in a game. It's worth to spend a little bit more time here to get it. Like, for let's say I have a lot of light fighters in my team, and they manage to take over the airbase in this map, yeah, and they camp on this airbase, they stay on this airbase, and enemy team have a bomber, and this bomber flying around taking those garrison and those rocket base. So it's really good idea to fly here if you want to win and try to take over this rocket base. Of course, this is training room, like previous examples as well. So in real battle, you can have more opportunity to take this over, because that could be some plane here. Maybe someone will come in here to defend, and that's gonna give you 60 capture points, you know. And that could be also, this sector could be started by your bot bomber. They can drop some bombs and, you know, take out some ground targets, and so on and so on. So this is just example on training room, which show you that light fighter can actually take the rocket base by themselves. And we're talking about a plane which is flying very low and it's not very fast. So if I can do it in this one, then any other light fighter should be able to do it. And then that could be very useful tactic during the battle, as I mentioned. And it's the same with the command center. I'm not going to show you the example of the command center, but that's going to work the same way. Although you don't have to destroy the ground target in command center, because there's 3 air defense over there. So when they reborn, you just need to destroy 2, and that's it. Now, the reason why I'm spending so much time in this training to show you this technique, how to capture the strategic sectors, is simple. These sectors win the game for you. You can see now a good example here. First, I'm going to go into the command center in the middle of the map. From command center, I will go to the mining plant on enemy side of the map, and when capture, I will get back to the command center to defend. Now, if there would be much more players in this game, this part about factory capturing wouldn't be possible. That wouldn't be possible because there wouldn't be a bot here, and there would be some players and ground attackers or bombers. They would be managed to take over this factory before I even get here. But nonetheless, the main thing here I want to show you is that I hold this command center in the middle, and I hold this command center for most of the battle. At the very end, this opponent in Messerschmitt tier 10 will be in the middle, and he will capture this eventually, but that will be just seconds before the end of the game. And for entirety of this game, I never met this guy, I never had any dogfight. We just focus on capturing sectors, and in the end, he have more capture points and he have more sectors capture. But he didn't have this command center almost 99% of the time. And that's what I'm gonna show you now. You see, bomber flight formation is just about to reach the garrison, as you see. And this gonna be like 120 capture points, yeah? So those bombers will take over this garrison. And that's what I'm trying to explain to the players, that we need to focus on strategic sectors like command center, rocket base, or mining plant. Or sometimes it's also airbase if it's in a good position in the middle of the map. But that's the thing, you see, who's gonna get those 120 capture points now? When the bomber flight formation take over this garrison, bomber flight formation not gonna get 120 capture points. I'm not gonna get 120 capture points on my account, yeah? But take a look on the result of this game. I have here 320 capture points for aerial targets. With the ground targets which I destroy is 440 capture points and 2 sectors. And what about my opponent? how many he did. How many points he have now? Oh, let's see. Oh, what a surprise. 580 capture points, 4 sectors. So how is that possible that he lost the game? This is exactly possible because I hold the strategic sector in the middle, which send the bomber flight formation and capture more sectors thanks to that. You're not gonna see that on a report after the battle, but that's the reality. These sectors win the game. That's why I push so much to players to be focused on those sectors, not only Garrison, airstrip or airbase. But speaking of light sectors like Garrison, let me show you another interesting trick. Often when we lose the sector, we actually are in a sector and we're waiting those 30 seconds until the sector is unlocked. But what if you know exactly where the air defense aircraft will be spawned and you just position yourself behind them? That will be a great advantage, and this is exactly the thing I want to show you. So you see, I just positioned myself behind this air defense aircraft which just been respawned and I killed them very quickly. So basically it's about quick sector recapture. So what you need to know here is that every sector have different point where the air defense aircraft will be respawned. But you can establish that very easy by going into the training room and just make your own observation like I do here. Yeah, there you go, I see that. So one air defense going on one direction, the rest of them go in this direction. So I more or less know where they're going on this particular airfield, yeah. So on this particular airfield, they're gonna be in a moment, in the end of this runway. I'm gonna mark that for you in a moment. I just wait until the sector is unlocked, but I need to slow down, so that's why I'm doing these maneuvers now. Just to be just right behind those air defense aircraft now. So that's the place where they're gonna respawn, 900 meters above this point, yeah, in the end of this runway. So I position myself there just in the moment when the sector is unlocked, and that gives me a significant advantage. I can quickly take them out one by one. There you go. And the planes with very high firepower will benefit most from this. Any light fighter with very low firepower can't deal with those planes so quickly. Now, it doesn't matter what tier you fly. You can fly tier 10 and you can fly tier 7 like here, and you're still gonna have those air defense aircraft in the same spot and the same altitude, yeah? So they always start in the same point, and that's the most important in it. But as I mentioned, every sector have different spots. So look, this is the same map, but the airbase on other side of the map, and the air defense aircraft will respawn, but in completely different spot, yeah? There you go. So as you see, this technique can help you to recapture sectors which have air defense aircraft. Now in case of airbase, it's always very difficult, because when we approach the airbase, at any time enemy plane can be respawned behind your back basically. So it's very difficult to recapture the airbase, specifically if we're trying to do it on our own. The best advice I can give you is to do it not in a mid altitude. We always should choose or we go very high or we go very low. It's depend on our aircraft capabilities. If we are in an aircraft which have high altitude capabilities, then we should approach the airbase from 2000 meters. If we are on low altitude light fighters, then we should do it close to the ground, on the edge of their sector, possibly use the terrain if it's possible. Select enemies and don't get into the middle of the enemy red planes like in this example here. I'm flying in E220, yes? So E220 is basically high altitude fighter, very good plane, tier 7. And what I'm doing here, I engage this airbase at around 2000 meters. Now I attack some selected planes, and I'm not getting into this group of red planes, yeah? I'm getting back to my altitude. I'm getting back over 2000 meters, yeah? I'm dragging enemy behind me. I use my high altitude capabilities to take out this Yak 3 RD, which is very fast and very maneuverable, but he is not high altitude fighter. So I take him out, and I still looking for other enemies which I can take out here. I'm not going, or air defense aircraft like this case, but I'm not going down into this huge fight below me, yeah? That's just too much of the hazard here. If I go down into this chaos, I would be easily shot down by any plane or air defense aircraft. So that's how I capture this airbase. Now I finish off these guys, but I use my high altitude performance, as you see. Keep dragging those enemies, and they can't expect me you know, I just surprise them all the time, like, or they go after me, which they risk stall the plane, or I'm in this advantage that I decide when I'm gonna attack, so they constantly under threat that I'm gonna go down on them. Now, this is a very good example also for the dogfight. So this Yak 3RD is coming. I see him on the minimap already, yeah, on my left. And I'm on low altitude because I use my repair. So what I can do now is only the 2-circle fight, because he is more maneuverable, but he has less firepower. So I do this 2-circle fight here. That's a very good example. I get back to the head-on and I knock him out. But first choice would be to go on high altitude and drag him up and then force him to stall if it's possible, and that kind of fight, yeah. But I didn't have this chance here, so I use 2-circle fight. And if you don't know how to do it, how to perform that and what is it, I encourage you to take a look on my training video about maneuvers. That's is actually very well explained over there. But now let's move to another topic, which is dogfights. Very interesting part of this video. So let's get into it. And as you see here, I'm in a P-51A, and up against me are 2 Spitfires, and there's also Ki-93, FW-190 and Dornier 17. So the biggest problem for me are those 2 Spitfires. Those planes are much more maneuverable. So the key to be a good dogfighter is to establish the plan, action plan, in the beginning of the battle, not when I see the Spitfire. I'm not gonna think then, oh, what to do now. No, I need to have this plan already, how I'm gonna fight this plane. So for that, we need a lot of knowledge. We need to know how other planes perform. So let's say first I need to know something about my plane. So P-51 is very fast, high-altitude light fighter. He's not very maneuverable. So we definitely can't go into turn fight with Spitfire, but we can use our altitude performance. We don't have also the firepower, so any head-on attack is also not an option. We only have this high altitude performance, and that's all we can use against Spitfire. So I have that in my head straight away. You know, I'm not gonna think about it. If I see Spitfire, I go on high altitude, I try to drag him up, and if he's not gonna go after me, then I can try to surprise him. I will have this momentum, I will have this advantage that I decide when the fights start on. This is the airbase neutral one, and as you see, I start that also on high altitude. I'm trying to take out some air defense here, and that's what I was advising you early on. So we use our high altitude performance and we fly around 2000 meters into this airbase. We're not here alone. There's a ground attack plane, human player here, so he definitely gonna help us here to take out this airbase. But again, you see, this is light fighter, so we should be able to outmaneuver him quickly. Well, maybe not quickly, because as I mentioned, this is not very maneuverable light fighter. Now, we almost have it, and there is enemy here, but our ground attacker managed to take it over. So this is a bot. We can't go head on with this guy because that's multi-role, have more firepower. So again, we're not gonna go into turn fight with him. Even if this is a bot, we don't have to go into the turn fight. We can try to drag the bot on higher altitude and force him to stall. So that could be even easier than with a human player. So there we go. He's still firing at us, but he's just about to stall, which is right now. And there we have him, yeah. We don't have firepower to go head on, we just have this high altitude performance. And there's Spitfire. And I already know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna drag him on high altitude and try to force him to stall. I also tried to ram him with my wing, but that didn't work too well. But I still have a lot of power and my extra engine cooling and high altitude performance, and that's what I do. And Spitfires can't keep up with us if we go vertically like here. So you see, he's just about to stall, which is right now, and he's easy target, and that's how you can deal with this guy. So basically, the knowledge of the enemy planes is critically important to be a good dogfighter, because you can establish a tactic to fight those planes. This is another example, another trick I want to show you. I'm in LA9 now, and I'm going to up against a specialized Yak 15. So Yak 15 is much more maneuverable, he's pretty fast, so he can give us chase, and it's not a good idea to try to escape from Yak 15 in LA9. But we have better firepower, so Yak 15 cannot go head-on with LA9, so we can use that. So how to use that? We can slow down drastically, like to the minimum of your speed, and that's gonna give you a lot of time to fire at enemy. And also, most of the players will not notice that, and they're gonna try to get behind you, but instead of get behind you, they're gonna actually turn on front of you, like in this case. You see, this guy was thinking that he's gonna turn after me, but instead, he just simply turned on front of me, because I slowed down. And this is a very good technique, but unfortunately it's gonna probably work only once per battle, because if you're gonna get someone on this, he's not gonna allow you to do the same another time. Now, I wanna drag your attention to high altitude again, but how this impact your maneuverability. It's something what is overlooked for most of the players, basically. Most of the players think that if you're on high altitude, not in your optimum altitude, then you lose your speed, which is true, of course, but you lose your maneuverability, which is well explained in my training video about maneuvers. But as you see here, Key 162 is in a turn fight with Yak 30, and I'm losing it basically because Yak 30 is more maneuverable, at least on paper. But you have to pay attention that he's only up to 1500 meters. That's his optimum altitude. And Key 162 have optimal altitude 2000 meters. So when we get into the turn fight at around 2500 meters, then Key 162 is more maneuverable than Yak 30. And most of the players doesn't even aware of that. So basically, altitude have huge impact on our maneuverability, to the point that, as you see, that the most maneuverable tier 10 light fighters, it's not Yak 30, because there is no clear answer to it, because you can say that it's Yak 30, but it's only on his optimum altitude. You can say also that it's Key 162 if he is on 2500 meters. And if I have Yak 30 in a fight, in a game, then I'm not gonna go down to his altitude. I'm gonna play on my altitude, 2500 meters. That would be the best for me. So, you see, there is always some kind of way to fight every enemy here, and you have to just find this way before you start your engagement. Like in the beginning of the battle, I already know how I'm gonna fight this guy if I'm gonna meet him in a battle, what I'm gonna do, what's my plan is. If I see this guy, I go head on, I have better firepower. If that's not work out, I try to do two-circle fight. I can go head on, I have more HP, more firepower, or, you know, a lot of stuff. Or I'm more maneuverable, or maybe my rate of roll is better, so I can go into the rolling scissors maneuver, which like 99% of players doesn't even know that this can be performed in this game, but it can be, and it's very effective. So basically, if you want to be a good dogfighter, you really need to know very well your enemy and yourself, your own plane, what he's good at. Not just this game look like it's only about turn fight, but it's not. It's much more into it. Now let's move to another topic, and this is situational awareness. So basically, the best advice I can give you is to keep looking on minimap to be aware what's going on. But the other thing is that I noticed that a lot of players zoom in their minimap. Like I use zoom out maximum. Like I zoom out to the maximum my minimap, and I see a lot. Like if I zoom in, like right now, yeah, I only see 2 kilometers away from my position, everything what's going on. So basically, you see this yellow triangle, that's what I see on my screen. Everything around me is a blind spot. So if I zoom in my minimap, I only see 2 kilometers away on minimap, on my sides, behind me, and so on. This is not good enough, because if someone is approaching me, I have only split second to react. Because if it's someone spotted by my allies, but I still cannot see him on minimap because I just zoom in my minimap to 2 kilometers. So this is not good. This is one of the mistakes that a lot of players doing, but this is simply reducing your situational awareness. Now I zoom out my minimap and I see 2 bombers, I see some light fighter, I see much more, I see my allies, where are they and what they doing and so on. A lot of information which I wouldn't have if I zoom in my map. So this is very good tip to the situational awareness. You see, I don't see anything on the minimap now. I zoom out, I see enemy planes, I know where are they and so on. So I have also a video about spotting system, so this is very useful to understand the spotting system, because your allies can spot for you. And even though I don't see the marker of the plane far in a distance over the sectors, but I can see the enemy plane on that sector. Like in this case here, take a look. I don't see enemy planes on that factory, but on the minimap there are 2 light fighters which defend, or multi-role fighter and light fighter defending this factory. So I can see them on the minimap, and I can go there and help my team to take care of that factory. Now another thing I want to, drag your attention to those bots. Yeah, I saw those bots flying above me and I'm not engaging them. This is very important. Even though it's very tempting, that's easy target and so on, your points, I leave it. Because those bots going into the middle of the map for airstrip, which is not so important as factory. So I go after players. That's the main thing. If I have option, like in this case, I go after players, help my team to take over this factory. See, if I wouldn't came here, maybe they will stop this bomber flight formation from taking over this factory. But now they already dropped the bombs, and I kill one of these guys, add 60 capture points to the factory, and that helped a lot. So I have this strategic sector on this map. Instead of this, I could stay in the middle and fight on this airstrip killing bots, yes? But that wouldn't get me close to the win. Now let's move to another topic, and that will be bomber hunting. Yes, it's light fighter bomber hunting. Well, most of the players forget that bombers up to tier 7, including tier 7, they're not so strong. They doesn't have such a strong defense armament. There are some exceptions like B-17G, which I recently fly in weekend gameplay video, and I show how you can deal even with the heavy fighter at tier 6 in this bomber. But it's all depends how you approach the bomber. If you approach from behind and give a time to bomber pilot to sit down on the tail gunner and fire at you, yeah, he can put some critical damage to your engine or pilot and eventually get rid of you easily. But if you do it right, so from the side or from the front, from above or below, something like that, past the bomber, give him some few shots and then come back to him to finish off. Don't just sit behind him in a steady position, allow the tail gunner to shred you. So yeah, in this battle here I'm flying the P-51A. It's a tier 6 American light fighter, which have only 4 heavy machine guns, so it's not tremendous firepower, but I still can defend this factory against incoming bombers. The reality of the battle also mean that those bombers not always will be at full HP, so you have to be careful not to fly too low, because bombers can drop the bombs and kill you with those bombs and themselves just get damaged. So basically, most of the light fighters can deal with the bombers up to tier 7. The problems start from tier 8, 9 and 10, where the bombers have much better defensive armament and they present much bigger threat for the light fighter. So yeah, in this battle I'm just sitting on this factory. I'm gonna defend it, and thanks to this, those bomber players keep coming here and they gain nothing, so they basically waste their time. If they get killed here over and over again, then that allowed my team to capture all the rest of the sectors in this map. So that's why I'm doing it, partly because of the video. I want to have this content, these examples. I wouldn't have to stay here, I could go and capture something else, but it seems reasonable for me to sit here and defend this strategic sector. That's reload extra 80 capture points, so it's very good in this particular battle. And you don't have to do it yourself, so always remember to press F3 to ask for support, some bots. They can be very useful to help you attack those low tier bombers. And F4 also. So this is very simple advice, but we have tendency to forget about this quite often, and that's a game changer more than often. There's interesting group of light fighters which I want to mention, and this American line with those Mustangs. Yeah, a lot of them have those 6 heavy machine guns, and there's obviously it's easy to aim because it's machine guns, and you don't lose much if you off target for a moment. It's not like a German cannon. If you miss the target, okay, you just overheat your cannon tremendously and you gain nothing because you just missed. In here, that's not the case. You don't overheat those machine guns quickly, and you have this consistency. You keep firing and set up on fire enemy planes. But not only, and that's why I'm gonna talk soon. Another topic is coming, very interesting, that these light fighters, which doesn't seems to be attractive often, like on European server I just don't see players fly them. I see those Mustangs mainly on NA server, American server, where I guess players choose them because they are American, they are legendary planes, I would say. That's my theory, of course. But on European server, they're very rare in battles. And the reason for it is simple. They have good speed, good altitude, and this consistency in fire, but they lack of maneuverability, so they're gonna lose most of the dogfights with German light fighters and many others. Um, and there's literally very little way to fight with those German light fighters. Now, what this plane have that doesn't have the German fighter is gonna surprise you. Those planes are capable of taking over factory by themselves, enemy factory, before that factory will reload 80 capture points. But I'm gonna show you that in a moment. First, let me show you the ways I'm dealing with bombers tier 8, 9 and 10 in the light fighters. Yeah, it's a challenge. It's not been recommended by me, just use the opportunity mainly. It's not a tactic that you should pursue. I'll be right back. Now let's move to another interesting topic. Let's say you fail to defend this factory and you need to capture that again, and you are in a light fighter. But in a specific light fighters, you are actually capable of taking over a factory, and even before the factory, add extra 80 capture points. So it's all based on setting up on fire the section of the ground targets, like I'm doing here. See, I just fire a little bit on top of those targets and they catch up fire, and the fire will basically burn them to the ground. So that's what that, let's say, technique is based on. So light fighters are capable of taking over the factory before the factory will reload 80 capture points. This is one of the example. I just wait until the sector will be unlocked. So basically what I need to do here is just to slow down to the maximum, so I will have a little bit more time to fire at target. And I'm not keep firing at one section of the target, I just need to spray this fire on many different sections, and I just look at them, and if they catch up fire, like now, I redirect my fire to something else what is not on fire. If that's catch up fire, and I go fire something else. And of course we acquire the plane which have machine guns, heavy machine guns, some light cannons which not overheat quickly. So you see, I keep firing, I'm not overheating, and I set up on fire section of the ground targets, and those sections will burn to the ground because that's the game mechanics. And of course, main thing here is the premium ammunition. The ammunition which increase to the maximum the chance of causing fires. And of course I'm using this ammunition here, and you can just judge for yourself if that is overpower pay to win. I believe it is, because if the difference between using this ammunition or not is the difference between having this factory before it's add extra 80 capture points or not, then it's a tremendous advantage. If I can get it with this premium ammunition, I can do that. Without, I can't. So you can answer yourself. It is advantage. Now I almost finished, so I set up these two on fire and this one, and it's take a while for them to burn to the ground, but they will. And this is it. And you can help yourself with this. Of course you use premium ammunition, but also you can set up your equipment bonus characteristic. Like culminator sight, you can add extra 15% chance of causing fire if you have culminator sight in 400 technological level. So that kind of things, and increase to the maximum. Now in a game that's gonna look more like this. You very rarely will be on your own on the factory. In here I just fight with some other fighters, and what left is a bunch of ground targets which are just to be finished off, and I can take out this factory. So that's the reality of the game. Very rarely you're gonna be here alone, or there's gonna be some enemies here, or it's gonna be some allied bomber or bot or ground attacker, whatever, and that will help you. Now this is another example. I'm trying to do the same thing in tier 5 Japanese light fighter, which is equipped in very powerful cannons, but they overheat much quicker than machine guns, and the result is different. As you see, I set up on fire. Of course I have a premium ammunition here as well, but and they set up on fire those sections very quickly, very effectively, but as you see I struggle to keep this fire because I overheat. So that's the biggest problem for this plane. So not every plane is ideal for this, and that's why I mentioned that Mustangs are very good, and that's their secret weapon, that they have machine guns which are perfect for this increasing fire ammunition, and they almost never overheat, so it's perfect, it's just perfect. And they have pretty decent range, like for heavy machine guns. It's not this kind of British machine guns, light machine guns, which have 440 meters range or stuff like this. No, these are like almost 600 meters range, so that's allowed us to fire at those sections for longer. Now, don't forget that the big part of this technique is depend on RNG. So, are you going to set up this part of the ground target on fire or not? So, you see, in this case, this factory will add extra 80 capture points, just about, and I'll be late with capturing that. But that's a good example. You can blame cannons which overheat too quickly, and I couldn't have this consistent fire and have better chance of setting up on fire those targets, yes, but also I could be more lucky and set up one more ground target on fire, and or it's a matter of technique as well. If you practice that a little bit more than I do here, then that could be more effective. Now I'm gonna show you the example from the battle, not from the training room. So basically it is not a tactic which I will encourage players to go and do, fire those ground targets. It's really look like some beginners who fire at those ground targets and just trying to destroy them with the cannons or machine guns. No, it's an option that you have to keep in your mind, that you have some kind of option as a light fighter in some specific light fighters, like this Mustang. Yeah, in the light fighters which are equipped with machine guns or light cannons which not overheat quickly. So there you go, you can do stuff. And I would rather set up your mind on capturing factory, like in this case here, not recapture just right after bomber, but like in this case, I just came in here and this factory will reload in next 2 minutes. So without this 30 seconds of lockdown on a sector. So basically this factory, if I wouldn't come in here, would never be captured by my team. So in that case, I can come in here and do that in less than 2 minutes. And it's matter also of your technique. If you practice that on a training room, that's gonna be much more better. I'm not very efficient in it. I know that I can improve a lot. I can see that as much time I spend on training room to doing that, I get much better in it, and eventually I'm fine. I'm confident to go into the factory, and I'm sure that I can take the factory in this 2 minutes window. But if I want to take the factory in 1.5 minute window, then I'm not so confident, and sometimes it works, sometimes it's not. You have to take for consideration that this heavily depends on RNG. So if the RNG allowed you and you set up a lot of ground target, the section of the ground targets on fire, then you can make it that very quickly. But it's depend on RNG, and of course set up if your plane and premium ammunition heavily. So in here I'm just about to take that, just main target, one section on the main target left, but I will be fine to do that on time. And this is example in a battle which I was maybe not struggle, but it was close. It was B-29C here, and I focused more on capturing sectors. So in this battle I basically capture 2 rocket base and 3 factories. And I just show you this last factory when I captured this last sector, because that was the only time when I actually had a chance to capture this sector by myself completely. Other ones, there was always some enemies or my allies helping me, that kind of stuff. So as you see, 770 capture points, 5 sectors. I didn't touch this garrison in the middle even once. I was so busy with this most important strategic sectors. And I fire a lot at the ground targets, as you see. 38,000. Like for light fighters, it's just insane amount of damage to the ground target. But in this particular battle, that was good idea to do it. It's not always that. Like, you have to remember, that's not why I'm trying to teach players to go in light fighter and fight with some ground targets on factory. That's not the case. So basically, you have to be aware that there is a possibility of that, and in some situation you can do it, because let's say there is a light fighter in your team which dominate the airbase in the middle, and but you don't have the bomber pilot, and enemy have a good bomber pilot who capture one factory then another factory. So all you can do, you can try to go and recapture those factories, and maybe stop even some of those factories before they reload 80 points. And in the meantime, your allied will be working in the middle and some other light sectors, and maybe you will pull the win of this. So it's an option. It's not recommended tactic. It's not what the light fighters are designed for. But there is interesting option in it, in my opinion. And of course, I'm not showing you all the light fighters which are capable of doing this. There's a lot of them. As I mentioned, some cannons which are not overheating quickly, premium ammunition, and setting up your bonus characteristic on fire. Now, in the background, you can see an example. I'm just about to recapture this factory in Tier 7 P51 Josephine, which have even more chance of causing fire because he have a special skin which give him extra 15%. I do not have full bonus on the side here, but that doesn't matter. It's still a lot with the premium ammunition. Now, to sum up this, guys, this is very, very difficult to pull this off in 1.5 minutes to recapture the factory before she reload the 80 points. It's much more doable in 2 minutes if you are somewhere in a battle and you see the factory just reload, but you nearby and you can stop the factory from reloading another time. That make more sense, but it's difficult to acquire this premium ammunition, and it's even more difficult to decide when you actually should do this technique in a battle, because it's not something which you're gonna do quite often. This is just an option I'm trying to share with you, that that's how you can destroy the ground targets by setting up them on fire and just leave them so they can burn. But it doesn't have to even be the factory. You can also use that on some rocket base. For example, if you go in light fighter across the map, let's say counter cap tactic, and you fly into the enemy rocket base, you'll destroy two defense aircraft and there's no one there, let's say. So what stop you from setting up on fire the main building on the rocket base? That's going to work exactly the same. It's just going to be quicker because the main building is in a center. I mean, you have to be in a move, you have to turn on over the rocket base, because there is a lot of low air defense, low altitude air defense over there, so it's tricky. You can try to take out the air defense first, just guns maybe, but that's going to take, again, a lot of time, and if you don't, then you can risk that you're going to be shut down, so it's difficult. Yeah, this factory almost reload this 80 capture points, but eventually I managed to take over that. I'm not very proficient in it. I'm sure that you guys, if you train more, you can do it better, but that's the trick, that's the interesting information I would like to share with you. Now we're going to move to something else. Now, I think I mentioned that in the beginning of the video, but this video is getting so long that I don't even remember what I said in the beginning. Now, I think I mentioned that there are planes like this one here, Yak-3RD, and a couple others. I'm going to show you them now. These planes have very little firepower, like, for example, this HE-100D. Only 3 machine guns on scale 5. This is just amazing, very low firepower. Or this one here, this 20mm cannon and machine guns. So still very little firepower. So those planes are not very good in capturing sectors. At tier 8 there is at least this J8 Japanese, that's for sure is one of these, let's say, headhunting light fighter. So these planes are good at very often at dogfighting, like Yak-3RD or even this HE-100. So I have here speed, altitude, and very good maneuverability. All I'm lacking is the firepower. So basically that suggests me that this plane is good in a dogfight. So I'm not very good at taking over sectors like Garrison or Airbase, but I can hunt down enemy players, which are doing a lot in a battle. And that's exactly what I'm going to do in this battle. I basically, on like 90% of my kills are players from enemy team. To the point that basically those players getting worse results than bots, because I keep hunting them down. And by doing this, I contribute most to the game, because I wouldn't be able to capture sectors as quick as they do. So that's why these planes are focus player kind of light fighters. Like, they have to focus good players, like, or I mean, whoever's doing good result. Yeah. In this case, I'm going after this heavy fighter, and he's trying to defend himself. As you see, my firepower. You see how long it's taken for me to take this heavy fighter, even though he's flying like in a straight line. And very often, if you kill someone a couple times, he will just drop out of the game. But I believe that that's the best role for this kind of light fighters. There's just few of them in the game, but they are. That's the best way we can use them. To hunt down other players and contribute most to the game thanks to this. Like, for example, this Yak-3RD at tier 7. This is very interesting plane. He have only one cannon, 23mm, I believe that is. But this is like tier 10 cannon, a very good one. But still, one, so we're not gonna be able to capture sectors quickly in the Yak-3RD. But we are very fast, extremely maneuverable, so we can chase down any K6, any very good planes at tier 7. And they theoretically they have little to to answer on that. They have very little options in fighting with us, because we are so maneuverable, so fast, and this is it. That's all we need. And firepower, yes, that limits us, but eventually we will take out the K6 if we get behind him. Yeah. So in the beginning of the video I said that the most important for the light fighter is to capture sectors, but that's not applied to this, guys. So any light fighter which have very little firepower and some good maneuverability and speed, you can recognize this way, because there's a little bit more than I show you. But any light fighter with that kind of parameters will suggest you that you should be going after players, focus players. That's the best of your contribution, which can be. Like in this battle here, I destroy 7 planes, not much, and you probably never can expect too much of the score in that kind of light fighter with small firepower. But so 1 kill on this guy in heavy fighter, he dropped out from the game. 3 kills on P40. This ground attacker, I didn't kill him, that's some bots, okay. And A6M1, I destroy him 2 times. So altogether, I destroy 6 times a player. And in the end, I just want to remind you that the pilot skills, one of the most important for a light fighter pilot is actually resilience. It's repel all critical damage and heals the crew injuries, reduce engine overheat and the weapon overheat by 50%, and increase maneuverability and engine thrust by 5% when aircraft lose 70% of hit points. This skill is activated automatically once per sortie, but when it's activated, that means when your HP drop below 70%, then let's say you repair yourself on airfield, or you just automatically your HP will be restored, then this skill again is gonna turn on, so it actually can turn on multiple times during the sortie. So this is very important skills, even though most of the players think that this is only good for bombers, ground attackers, or stuff like this, but it's not. It's or maybe heavy fighters, but no, it's actually very good also for light fighters, and many times saved my ass. So it's a very good skill. Rest of the skills are not so complicated, let's say, and everyone can choose proper skills for a specific light fighter or preferences, but resilience it should be like it's must have on 99% of light fighters, I would say. Now we're getting close to the end of the video, guys. Sorry for that long. I hope you guys enjoy it, found it useful. Usually I make those training video about 1 hour long, not longer. This is an exception because the subject is so huge. And okay, guys, that's it in this video. I hope you like it, found it useful. If so, please leave a like and subscribe for future content. Leave me some comments, what you think about my kind of training. I just pick up this stuff which I'm thinking most of the players don't know, not realize. Obviously the subject is like for 10 hours video, how to play light fighters. It's a huge topic. Anyway, guys, once again, thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next one.